Well, Beijing says it will allow the Philippines to send vital supplies to a warship grounded at a disputed shoal in the South China Sea, as long as Manila gives advance notice. The remarks coming after the Philippines accused Chinese Coast Guard vessels of blocking efforts it made to evacuate a sick crew member, describing their behaviour as barbaric and inhumane.
中方在仁爱礁问题上的立场是明确的。如果菲方向中方提前通报，我们可以允许菲方向坐滩军舰运送必要的生活物资以及撤离相关人员，但是菲方不得以此为借口向坐滩军舰运送建筑材料，图谋永久侵占仁爱礁。
Manila earlier released a video of what happened on the 19th of May after recent emergence of reports of that incident. Chinese vessels were seen ramming and blocking Philippine Coast Guard and Navy boats, one of which was carrying a sick Marine who had been guarding a warship grounded at the Second Thomas Shoal. The BRP Sierra Madre was deliberately grounded in 1999 in the disputed Second Thomas Shoal in what is known to the Philippines as the Ayungin Shoal and what China calls Renai Jiao or Renai Reef. For more, CNA's Bernal joins us live from Manila. Buena, is China's statement that it will allow supplies to the grounded warship as long as it gets some kind of notice, is that being interpreted by Manila as a sort of concession or hardening of its position?
Well, if the allegation of the Philippines is true, what this could possibly indicate is another movement of or change in China's so-called red line when it comes to its surveillance of Second Thomas Shoal. Now, based on the Philippines' version of events, the high-speed response boat deployed by the Philippine Coast Guard was quote-unquote intentionally rammed by a China Coast Guard boat, and there were also allegations of dangerous maneuvers by a China Coast Guard vessel. So if this is true and you kind of compare it to the so-called new model that China has been arguing, the so-called gentleman's agreement supposedly between the Philippines' previous administration and China, which the current administration has actually denied the existence of, then you see a movement of its goalpost yet again. Because in that gentleman's agreement, China was saying that it would allow essential items to be supplied to BRP Sierra Madre, which is the grounded World War II ship of the Philippines that serves as a military outpost in Second Thomas Shoal, but it would not allow construction materials. So now with this incident and with the Philippines' version of events, you see that even medical evacuations are now being blocked. The Philippines, of course, is denying that it is bringing or it is constructing infrastructure in that ship, and it is saying that it is simply fortifying the ship to make it livable for the personnel there.
I mean, well, Bernal, China's Navy warship spotted in the Basilan Strait. Now, that's near the Philippines' southern region. Is Manila concerned about Chinese presence in this region?
Well, the fact of the matter is Basilan Strait is actually an international lane. This means innocent passage is allowed in that area. But what's worthy to note is the growing presence of Chinese vessels reported in other areas of the Philippines outside of the West Philippine Sea. So the West Philippine Sea is how the country calls its maritime zone in the larger South China Sea, which already has a record of the so-called cabbage strategy of China, which think tanks have documented through satellite images, where there's a swarming of Chinese vessels, most recently in Sabina Shoal in the South China Sea. But outside of the West Philippine Sea, last April, there was also a sighting of a Chinese research vessel off of a central Philippine town. And last May, there were also 4 Chinese naval vessels spotted in southern Philippines. So these are areas outside of the West Philippine Sea. And of course, there are speculations on what this greater visibility or presence of Chinese vessels mean, but on the part of the Philippines, what this really means is greater vigilance, because even if these are innocent passage, for example, you still see the Philippines recording it or the Philippine Navy shadowing those Chinese vessels. And this goes in line with recent surveys commissioned by the Armed Forces of the Philippines from the final quarter of 2023, showing that 77% of Filipino respondents, that's some 8 out of 10 Filipinos, are actually ready to defend the Philippines in case of an invasion.
And thanks, Bernal reporting live from Manila.